call this meeting to
No,
order?
there's no voting anyway.
Okay. Would you rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Aldrich. Here. Fox.
Here.
Verplank.
Here.
Holland.
Here. And the rest of them are excused. Except for Kathy, I don't know where she is. Would you silence your cell phone, and could we have an approval of the agenda, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda of March 3rd, 4 p.m. Fire District Board meeting.
I'll support.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed? Public comment? We have no public. Fire chief's comments.
Yeah, just short, brief. The Department of Fire Prevention, we went to Douglas Elementary School at this time of the year, and Chris orchestrated there's photos up there to recognize memorizing the address, which is a school year incentive. They would get awarded a pizza party. In this case, we had 3 classrooms that were awarded the pizza party. And Chris had arranged for the pizza from back alley, cookies, and then were carrots and apples. And we invited Douglas Police to help distribute all this to the kids, and we did it in the library. So I just wanted to share that with you.
Nice.
Always goes over real well. A lot of fun. That's all the chief comments.
Okay, so, moving on. Unfinished business and MDOT update.
So I put only 3 copies, or 4 copies, you have one over there. And this right here, you guys can share that if you don't mind. Let me summarize this. I'm working with MDOT. I said I needed another attenuator, and we're not buying it. We want an attenuator trailer. And we've been working on this now for several years, and our call volume was up. So I worked with Suzette, our point of contact with MDOT, and there were some questions. She's, what exactly did you have in mind? And we had a good conversation, despite many emails. And she said, well, what I need are data. Well, you're in the right place here. So then I contacted her, she said, tell me what you want, and I gave her all the data. Eric had it all exported, filtered it out, so it was just 196. So we did a 2009 to 2025. Email correspondence is in the back, but I'll just summarize it for you. And it really shows the activity on 196, how it's really increased. And she said, she had one question about... She had a question about the duration of the calls, if it was just 15 minutes or what. And I said the duration is already in there in the column, and it shows all that, which we've shared with you in the past. So the amount of lane closures, so she said, do you want this attenuator trailer at your fire department, or what if I had a third-party contractor? On that note, we've learned that Kentwood, Grand Rapids, Wyoming have some agreement with MDOT where they provide a level of service and get reimbursed. Well, we would like that. So I said, we don't want to take out the trailer. Problem we have is nobody's here. Nobody does anything. And you'll see that on many levels in this area, not just with MDOT. So I said, yeah, I'm happy to have you do it, but it's got to be here, not Kentwood. We're not waiting for that to come over from here. So then she sent another email. She says, what time of the day do you predict? What time of the year do you predict? What months? If I can get you a contractor for 3 months. Again, I can extract that. So this will show you, is it June, July, August, or is it the winter time? This will show you it's the winter time. It's actually 4 months. And we'll show you that it's during the day. So we responded, and I said, here's the data. It supports November through February, or if you want to take 3 months, December through February, and it's during the day. She said, maybe I could do a service contract with a company where they're based here, and they would respond on the highway, say after the first 15 minutes, then we'd get off the highway. Fine with me. So that's what we're working on that I wanted to share with you. Because there are many elements on this whole thing, and you hear it all the time. You know, Dan sent out this brilliant email in Comstock Park, 5 vehicles hit since December. You all know about Granville. That driver went around the blocking truck and slammed into a truck. So it's impacting all of us. If you want to protect your people, if you don't, you're going to end up in court, one way or another. So we are working on something where either take this over yourself, so we are only there initially, or do it. But to wait an hour and a half, and that will come up later in my report, oh, you want a salt truck? Well, that's an hour. You know, if will come out. So I'll get to that later. But this just explains, I have a lot of things in process, and this is one of them. MDOT support, because again, the problem is, there's a void of MDOT presence here. So how do we get support? Or either they're out plowing, when you need them on the highway, they're plowing. Well, that doesn't do us any good, because we're out there when it's a blizzard. And I said, why should our taxpayers shoulder the burden? If I have no choice, fine. Then it's going to be up to the board and legislators to say, what's going on here? Your agency isn't doing it. But I don't want to go to that point, that extreme. So, okay, that's what I have to share with you about this. Any questions? None. Moving on. Elgin County Emergency Management, I was required to go to emergency management meeting. There was about 22 of us there, all representatives from police and commissioners. I was the only fire service guy there, and we had to work on an emergency operational plan for the county, get it from 500 pages down to 175 pages. And I was just there last week, and they want it done by March 7th, and I went away, ain't gonna happen. So, we are working on this. It's a fluid document, but it includes dams, it includes mass casualty, what do we do? The plane falls out of the sky, some very intensive things, and it follows federal guidelines. So, more on that later. Now I'd like you to show this video, please, on the next item. You've seen this video, but I want to refresh your memory. You better turn off those, Chris, can you turn off those lights, please? So, this is the incident of the ice storm. Remember this? What are you looking at? You're facing west, looking at Dunes View. That's the off-ramp on 41. Here's our engine, driven by a road commission driver, former. He pulls out because he has an assignment to block the on-ramp. Loses control. He's the block on the other side of the on-ramp. And he couldn't get up the hill. At that time, Captain Mike Block called Elgin County Road Commission through Elgin Central and called for salt. See the semi? So Caleb was backing up because he couldn't get momentum to get up the hill, and the semi truck couldn't stop. And you can see. So you get a visual of what we had there. What's important about this? Important you should know. Why are we doing this? Why are we there? Why this? Why that? This is why. Because nobody does.
How close did the semi come to the...
10 to 15 feet. You know, from here it looks real close,
No.
But Assistant Chief Betts credits saving that engine from a spin to Caleb Hosier. Because he drove salt trucks and snow plow trucks. We stole them from the road commission. So we were lucky. Now, MDOT is required to do that off-ramp, and if there's a bypass, this is a legal bypass. Still not signed after 12 years. It's supposed to be signs. Sending people to bypass this.
Does that mean because it's been designated
Yes.
a bypass,
Yep, by MDOT.
it doesn't make any difference whether they're actually bypassing traffic at that, bypassing the interstate?
It's designated and listed as a designated bypass, and then they're supposed to put bypass signs. What they gave us were bypass barrels, but I would not take a trailer out in this. I declined that. So, at that time, Captain Block, around 1:30, asked for the salt truck. Caleb parked the truck over here, we couldn't move it, till probably 2 hours later when we backed it down and put it over in shell. So what does it mean for you? It means that I contacted Algon Central, and I sent a nice email saying I'd like to explain to the deputy director, I'd like to explain what the process is for dispatching Algon County Road Commission. Because you can't control, I had 5 rigs out here, you can't control the ice. So MDOT had salted, they did one pass on the ramp, I think I shared with you, their speed was very slow, so the dispensing of salt wasn't there. Well, they're required to do the bypass. And they did Blue Star Highway, however, they only did the shoulders, the salt didn't go in the center. So that's what we called for the road commission. Well, the road commission never came. So I sent an inquiry and say, what do I need to do to get this out here, because we can't operate. We held that traffic there for hours. So, unfortunately, after an investigation, wanted to report the dispatcher didn't contact Algon County Road Commission. So, they said, well, they told our captain they wouldn't come out. Road Commission's not gonna come out, not gonna come out. Well, it turned out our deputy director did a great job looking at this and could tell from the phone records they were never contacted. So it was a mistake. We all do that. So then I contacted the road commission and said, what do I need to do? If one of my officers calls for salting, I expect it and anticipate it. Now, keep in mind, we've called them out and they have responded when I do a winter fire. And all the hose water and everything, of course, creates ice. We don't leave that ice slick. We call for the road commission. They've been receptive, but I personally talked to the Algon County Road Commission Director, Craig Atwood, who's always helpful. And I'll get to the point on this because I was shocked to read it. And Craig said he knew they were not called. And he said, we are getting called by a lot of deputies to come out when there's snow. We've never called deputies, called up road commission because there was snow. We can go through snow pretty well. It's the ice we can't deal with. So they said, we just don't run out because somebody asked for it. I said, well, I expected to when the fire department asked you, because we might do that once in 3 years. So he considered it an isolated incident. Follow the process, call through Algon Central. The deputy director wisely told her staff, another reminder, staff, you've got to document when you called, because we're going to check that, and we want the response. If the road commission says, we will not come out, then they've got that recorded. So that was the good part about it. What's disturbing is that the road commission says the same people that are responding at night are working during the day, we don't have 24-hour, 7-day-a-week operations. So you just can digest that. And it's pretty much like the rest of what we have, all these people do is work during the day. And that is why we're on the highway. That's why are we going out for a canoe?
Do they not think things are gonna happen at night, I guess? In fantasy world?
Road work is 24/7, and that's my disappointment with this, and I mean I'm disappointed. I have not responded back to Alvin Central nor to the Road Commission yet, because I'm waiting a couple of days.
Are they open Sunday?
Who?
The road commission, do they work on Sunday? I did not see anything on those bad Sundays, and I was just kind of curious about that.
No,
I doubt it.
they're paying a millage, we expect people to do their jobs. You know, as you all know, Doug DeBleicher, the chief, he reached out to Glenn Havner, one of Havner's drivers. Havner assaulted that for us. We never got a bill, knowing Havner we won't. But it just goes to show you that you can't count on some of these agencies. This is not a 9-to-5 job. And I remind my staff of that once a month. You want a 9-to-5 job, get out of here.
Wasn't Central Dispatch called several times?
All I know is Mike Block called them on the phone, then at 5 o'clock he called them on the radio. They got the message at 5 o'clock. They sent a truck here. By the time the truck came from Allegan, the semis were gone. So I just want you to know that I'm not whining or complaining. This is one reason why it's really futile to ask, why are we doing this, why are we out there? You know why? Because nobody does. From Allegan County to local. I'm sorry, but they just don't do it. And why people are sitting at home in their beds, this fire department is responding to any and everything, because nobody else does. They either don't answer their phones, or they won't go. And whoever makes that decision has an impact on us. So I reiterated to Craig Atwood, you know, well, there's nothing we can do with salt, and if I have to, I told my officers, the ones I've seen on shift, some of them are off it, I'll call them myself, and I'll keep calling, and they're not gonna like that.
So, dispatch didn't call the road commission, but did Craig say what they do if they had gotten the call?
He just said they gotta have the right information, because he said, all his words were, is the deputies, we have all these deputies calling. Why? Got a lot of new deputies. And the road commission is one agency, it's just like MDOT. Why isn't MDOT doing things? Because then nobody staffs enough. Now, you have to, and you have.
What if we served up the notion of some sort of like emergency, which this was, emergency icing situation where an hour doesn't cut it, such that we would then be able to engage, as you did, Hefner,
Hebner. Glenn Hebner.
to do it, and Allegan, you would submit the bill and Allegan would pay it.
Yeah, that's what you're going.
I've heard that, the second time I heard it was today from Chris. I have no problem with that. I have no problem with that.
Well, it seems like, I mean, you can make a strong case that an hour, we understand the issues you have, and your people, you know, are either on vacation or not doing their jobs anyway, so, but we understand you can't get, in a situation like this, you can't get a truck here in 15 minutes with salt on and a driver. But there are local resources here that we can access that can fill that gap. But you gotta pay for it. It's your responsibility to pay for it. And, hell, I think, then, you know, I know the road commission doesn't doesn't report to the county commissioners, but we could certainly use the county commissioners for some kind of leverage to say, wait, you know, you can't have this situation, you can't have these roads iced over.
What I don't understand is why municipalities don't do a better job at responding at night. Why is it always the fire department when it's their city?
Well, but that would have been the township, and you guys don't have resources for that either.
No,
Township or would
they, and that's an example where they have no DPW.
Yeah.
So we understand that, we know that. And that's why they're relying on Elton County Sheriff's Office, because they don't have local police, and they're relying on the road commission. And what I don't understand is why we continue to have people think this is a daily job. A municipality, and I mean this respectfully, from the township to Douglas, the city, this is not a day thing. You have a responsibility to protect, it's in your charter, health, safety, and welfare of people. It doesn't work that way.
Would the township, you think?
Well, we've kind
Daniel,
of
be
talked a little bit about it.
willing
and,
to
you
put
know,
pressure on them and say, look, you
Yeah,
guys,
it's time.
here's
You know,
what
we're
it
bigger
looks like when a
bigger.
semi
Yeah.
slides through
Mhm.
an
And I sent
intersection.
all that to them, and this is just a dialogue that has to happen, because when people ask you like that, and I don't mean this fire board, you know, well, why are you out there doing it? Damn it, ride with me for 2 months. You'll find out why. Why do I have to wait for an hour and 20 minutes for a cop to come with a rollover whip? Why? Because somebody doesn't plan right. Here's my feeling, and I've plowed 55 years in my life. Why weren't the roads salted ahead of time? Why would we wait till 5 o'clock in the morning? Again, I'm not second guessing this. The only city I know, I don't know about Douglas, the only city I know who salted ahead of time was Saugus City, Scott Herbert. And that was told to me by Dan, Chris, and others, and it made a difference. This was a predicted storm. And that is my
Well, see,
point.
I think Allegan County, definitely, this is their road, you know, I
Exactly.
mean, they dropped
It's
the
not-
ball on
right.
that, you
And
know,
then
even if,
Then I have
We
to
did
come to
have
you
a
and say, okay, my new engine's out of service, our new engine's out of service. It didn't get hit,
yeah.
but this was a wake-up call, and I felt it's important for me to let you know how I feel about the complacency that, you know, you guys, what did you do?
But Right.
You added 3 people on at night.
Right.
But this is something we have to work out, because a driver for Hefner, or if it was Hefner, if it was Glenn, took a big chance, because, you know, what about the liability? What if he gets hit?
Why
What if
should he
gets-
do it?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And who's gonna
That's
care
who we
if he
call
gets?
usually.
That's who they
You
call.
know, that's
If
who
he
we
gets
would have
hit,
called,
what-
yeah, right.
What happens? He doesn't
Right.
have
It's
any.
no different than if we get hit.
Yeah.
Well, we have all kinds of insurance
Yeah,
policies.
well.
They have nothing.
You know, all I know is, this would be a much more larger scale meeting if my truck got hit or
Right,
somebody got hit.
right.
Because it would be public.
Mhm.
It's already public right now.
Well, I
but it
think
would
we
be.
have to get.
So I think what we need to do is,
You
you know,
know.
I can't, here's what happens when you go through a dispatcher. Not their fault.
Uh-huh.
Their reaction is verbal. It's only as good as the information they get.
Right.
The dispatchers we were flooded with calls, we know that. We understand that. And to confuse things, like, I'm sure I call them. And all they do is say no, all they do is say, well, that's not exactly correct. So we do realize the burden we shoulder, but this was a predicted storm.
Mm-hmm.
Why aren't you adding people in from the
The
deputies
dispatchers.
to everyone?
Yeah, but I
would.
do think we need to put the pressure
Right.
on Allegan County.
Right.
You know, I do notice that, you know, I've been driving out that way and they're closed 4 o'clock, you know. They're not, you know, I noticed on Sunday there's nobody out there.
It's just like,
There's no- you
oh, let's
know.
go home at 3 o'clock.
Yeah,
You know, 'cause we start at 6 in the
right.
morning. Well, you missed the commute.
Right.
So I don't have the answer other than maybe somebody
I
ought to
think what-
educate them
yeah.
on spreading up their staffing, because we all can't work during the day.
Right.
When I'm working 30 hours in a row, and my staff is working 24 hours in a row, somebody's gonna get hurt.
Mhm.
And I'm not, this isn't about me, this is about
Mhm.
my personnel and our equipment.
Right.
So, enough said.
Okay, I heard you,
So
and I'm
what do
gonna
you
have a talk.
suggest we do?
I think I'm gonna go back to,
I think there has to be a
board,
plan in
yeah,
place to say,
uh-huh.
what is it gonna take?
I-
What information do you need that, you know, how do I have a dispatcher filter or a Phil, who was named, who takes the calls at night from the road commission, what do you need to be convinced you need to come out here? 'Cause it won't be nice on the radio,
Mhm.
because my officers are gonna become frustrated,
Yes.
Mhm.
and then it's gonna become sometimes unprofessional. So I don't have the answer, Drew.
Okay, I just thought maybe you had some...
I don't have the answer because
You do.
I have no control over the road commission. I control this fire department,
Right.
and we are there, and you know it. And I'm expected to help every agency, but then I have somebody who won't come out when I need help. That's why I don't really care what happens, and township, the bill can go to the township, and the township deals with it. And I know with Daniel, it'll go right to the road commission.
Well, we've been talking to them, you know what I mean, but maybe it's time to do something different then.
Just
you
to
know? Yeah.
reiterate,
Right.
I can't control what 8 officers are gonna say,
Uh-huh.
and I certainly don't know what the deputies are gonna say.
Yeah.
But when you have you have Elm County Sheriff's Office, and you have MSP there,
Right.
and then the fire department there, you're talking thousands of dollars an hour you just robbed from the rest of the county
Yeah.
for Saugatuck, again. 'Cause why? Lake Shore.
Yeah.
Lake Shore effect. So, I've done everything I can do and everything I'm going to do.
I'd like to at least see, if it makes sense to you, to suggest like a real emergency situation is a one-off. I
Mhm.
mean, we haven't had 10 of these exactly like this year. In those circumstances, can there be a pre-authorized local contractor who can respond within minutes
Right.
instead of...
Well, I'm sure it'll be happening, you know, I mean.
Knowing the township,
Yeah.
you would
Right.
get Glenn out
Yeah,
there.
and he does, he comes right out whenever we need him, but,
Yeah.
you know, he's not gonna do preventative, like he said, a storm's coming, we'd have to,
That's what the road
Direct him to
commission
do
was
it.
funded for.
right, yeah.
And then the bypass, if the bypass was the other way to go eastbound over that, the road commission would want that way, but they didn't go that way.
Mhm.
So it puts us again in a position, an uncompromising position, where everybody just turns a blind eye and, well, why are you out there? Why are you doing this? And you need to ride with us to find out, because other people aren't doing it.
Well,
'Cause there's
we have a committee of the whole meeting. I'm gonna be in Florida, but I could have it added to the agenda, and I'm gonna zoom in and we could talk about this.
Great.
Yeah,
Great,
that's what
thanks.
I think.
Because it could easily happen in Douglas.
Right,
It could,
Yeah.
just not 41, it just happened to
right,
be there.
uh-huh,
And we all know the high rate of calls we have, mile marker 37 and 38,
right.
and they're never gonna stop.
Mhm.
So,
Question. If in an emergency, do we have the ability to do any salting?
No. Us? No.
I
Heck,
didn't think
it
so.
took me 2 years to get an attenuator truck, how long would it take me to get a salt truck?
Yeah, well, I didn't think so, I just thought I'd ask.
You're not gonna solve.
I'm not gonna solve, no.
There's the red line right there.
Yeah,
Took it
that's
for-
good. I appreciate
We're not
that,
buying
Truman.
salt.
No,
I didn't
oh,
think so,
oh,
but I
wait,
thought
I
I'd
stand
throw it out
corrected.
there.
We have the ability to salt Saugatuck City sidewalks.
Don't you dare.
Oh, that's
Right,
good.
Yeah.
I'll watch
Yeah.
for you.
That
Yeah.
was a long time.
Why are we doing that?
All right, so.
Yeah, you're moving on.
Well, that was a big mix-up, because there was somebody on their way to salt the sidewalks, and somebody else didn't know it. Okay, moving on.
Okay.
All right, you take care of that.
Okay, funding approval discussion. Chris, you handle this project. Why don't you do a summary?
Sure.
It's not a vote, so.
Right. Essentially, our current card access system is obsolete and is accessed via Windows 10, which will be completely obsolete or no longer supported and not be able to be used come November of this year. So we're proposing to replace it. It's almost 10 years old now, too, so it's more than served what it was expected to do. The new system we're proposing, basically, all the wiring stays. All we're doing is changing, like, the key fob readers on the wall out, and then the panels. So no matter what we end up doing, whether it's a future addition or moving to another station or whatever, we just would take the hardware right back out of the wall and move it with us. And/or if we were going to put an addition on, we would leave the existing stuff and just expand. So whatever we do in this system, we're not throwing away by putting an addition on or moving stations or whatever the future is. We'll be able to grow with it when we move on. And this system is cloud-based and a lot easier to access as well, too, for when, or if and when you need to program a new key fob or remove someone that they're no longer employed here, or whatever the case may be. So, that's just a brief summary. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Okay, the at-large fire board member, Scott Phelps' term expires 3/18.
So I thought we'd put it on the fire board agenda next month to officially, Scott has said he will continue. So we could have it on there and you could vote him in if you like.
Great.
Okay, good enough?
Yeah. Lakeshore Drive, 59th Street.
So all we have on that is in your packets is just a letter that shows, I'll summarize it. So, the road commission has worked with the township. The township's been very diligent on this, trying to find funding for a new road to replace Lakeshore Drive. They're gonna name it 69th Street. So they applied for, it was called a BUILD grant. The name used to be RAISE, it's now BUILD. And they were awarded a grant from Myotech, all these names, acronyms, for grant writing last year, and Craig Atwood put it together along with consultants and a number of other agencies. We were one of them. So the Myotech came through last week with a letter of commitment for $1 million in match towards the project. The township will commit $250,000. They're asking for $7,200,000 in federal funds for a total project cost of $9 million. There is a website with all this. I went through it over the weekend, and shows a pretty extensive history, and there were a number of reports on this and a number of analysis on this years ago, and it comes back to they feel the best thing to do is build a new road. So obtaining the private property is all built in this $9 million.
It's a north-south road then?
Yes. Which seems to be much cheaper than trying to fix the part that fell apart. Right, Stace? Wasn't that real expensive?
Mm-hmm.
So, the next thing, there's an environmental assessment, which is a big part of the process, to be completed in fall of 2026. So this will take some time. But at least they're trying, because it's a lot of money.
Yeah. It's taking a long time.
No, we've talked a lot about it.
Okay, moving on. We have no correspondence.
No, I just gave you all that stuff.
Any public comment, fire board comment?
Is Scott gonna run again or not?
Yes, yep,
Okay.
he will,
Okay, all right.
he will.
Okay, good.
Just to confirm, he will run again.
Okay.
And you guys appoint him,
Stacy?
Oh, okay.
not anybody else.
I got some work to do.
Oh, you're already in Florida. Dan?
No, I'm not, I'm gonna be zooming in.
I'd like to see us start to put in place the data and the thinking and the background that are inevitably gonna be needed for facilities expansion. So things, the stuff that any consultant's report would have. 5-year trends on growth in equipment, growth in personnel, growth in calls, everything. Setting so that you're making a case, ultimately we'll be making a case to the public, likely, that this facility is not suited any longer, was built whenever, when the calls were this, now the calls are this. We had 6 trucks, now we got 16, or whatever the hell it is. Lots of things have changed, and the facility needs to change to accommodate that. More people, training requirements, bays, the whole thing. But all that data, we can, I mean, we don't have to write the recommendation yet, but the data we know we're gonna need. We know we're gonna need it. It's fundamental, you know, and we can do this, take it all the way to population build over the same period of time. You want every frickin' chart going like this, okay? So that when we say, we got one more chart for you, that's no, it's a chart. It hasn't moved either, and it's gonna have to move, whatever. That's down the road.
We're lucky that we have like trends from 2004 to 2024, 20 years, and obviously that's a good profile that shows what we did 20 years ago was completely irrelevant. You know, like we've talked about, there really shouldn't be fire in the name. We're doing everything. You know, from counting deer to God knows what.
I mean,
No, I'm okay with that, but just so long as people understand, we're a resource. There is no other agency more involved in the tri-community area than us. And I, you know, I'm grateful for that. So there are a lot of things to put together. We can certainly start putting, you know, like, where are the calls? Can we do a chart that shows where the calls are? That might be a good one to do. It's tough when you have a large chart and you have all these little pins, you end up with a whole red area in one area. But we can work on that maybe by district, by city. The other thing is, you'll see me present next month, for those of you who are here, I have all the pricing on the sewer and water, whether we bring it from back there or bring it across. Some good things about it are that Fleece Vandenbrink shared with us that the township is extending the sewer line up here, and it would not take a whole lot to move it further north. So I'm supposed to reach out I got it today, reach out to Daniel on some positive things about getting the infrastructure here. So I think that's something that should be done irrespective of what you do with the building, but we can talk about it.
I'd look at every possible data look that's over time, to include even, you know, calls on the highway, which I gotta figure in 2004, we weren't dealing with this number.
Correct.
Every number that's going up like that is one piece of support for the facility thing, and quite honestly, it keeps a bullet out of the cylinder from some taxpayer saying, well, yeah, but, I mean, how come, or, you know, there's not enough data. You know, you wanna soak them in data.
Yeah, I know just the guy to do that. But I think there's no end to what we could show, you know, just look at for example, look at other calls, the melting pot of other calls. It's 395%. Why?
So look at the EMT call.
Because we're here and people call us.
Look at EMT calls over time.
Right.
Which is another, I mean, be careful on. Are we recording this?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm just saying that when EMS calls have gone up as dramatic as they have, I think it's reasonable to understand that it means more people, means more equipment, and it's very tough to be the guy on the other side of that saying, oh, no, you just handle the EMT calls going through the roof, and that's on you. Yeah, until it's your wife or your kid or your next door neighbor.
Or you.
Yeah, or you.
Yeah.
So,
I think the biggest impact on the change on all this will be the rentals. You know, what is it gonna do in 20 years? I would ask anybody A consultant's gonna tell you what's gonna happen in 20 years based on their program, yeah, whatever. All I can tell you is what our data shows for 20 years.
Or
When
look
I
what-
joined, it was 450 calls a year. You're almost triple that.
Molly Fox, Molly Larimer, or one other.
Not Don Trump, is it?
Probably.
So, you know, but we can certainly, I can meet with Eric, call him and about acquiring the data to show, we have so much of that, it would be easy to do it in a format that would show what the trends have been and what they're expected to be. And I wish, and I wish the municipalities charted their buildings, their construction, their permits. Wouldn't it be nice to see, hey, how many building permits did you issue 15 years ago? Why don't we have that?
Oh,
Why? And I can tell you, John and I used to do maybe 10 plan reviews a month. We had that in a week.
Well, how many rentals did we have?
I started it.
And we did it every
was
3
70
years. Now
It was
we do-
72
Right.
rentals. So now you're 900 that are reported.
72 that you knew about, but...
Right. So, you know, there's no denying, it's just convincing the public, and I don't see that as, you're always gonna have naysayers, I don't see that as, what's the question? I don't know what the question is. You don't wanna spend $2 million, I guess you better go live up somewhere else. I'm sorry? You know from what you spent on that building, and that wasn't even the other side of it.
Right. Yeah, we still got that.
We had a builder here, I will not reveal his name, who was bringing a great project forward. Can't call it affordable housing, because there's no such thing here. Tiny homes, okay? And just the land, what was the rule of thumb when we were all, because 105 a foot. Just the land is $75 a foot. So, 1,000 square foot home, is that the minimum size for accessory dwelling, right?
950, isn't it?
950?
Like that.
Let's say
Yeah.
1,000 feet.
Mhm.
Talking 300 a foot. You just have to deal with it. You know, what did I, gave you 2 fire stations, Holland, Grand Rapids, there are 2 stations, $600 a foot.
Mm.
I don't, there's nothing I can do.
Mhm.
You just have to, that's what it is.
Yeah.
If you want a commercial building, we all don't have houses that are city halls.
Mhm.
And it's very obvious that's not gonna work for long.
Mhm.
Or you're gonna spend $130,000 painting it. So, I'm pretty much convinced if you wanna expand, it's gonna cost. How can we do it that it's,
That which is part of the reason for getting this kind of data, which is gonna be the analysis. The front part of any recommendation like that is gonna be an analysis of trends. And we know in our hearts, those trends all favor this project, or a project like that. So, I mean, getting that stuff down, basically the first section, before you ever open a page that shows an artist rendering or any of that stuff. This stuff that says the need is there, the demonstrated need. Then we go into showing them with that we can navigate on our own.
and you'll also see what are the reasons, okay? We're living longer, we're living at home, we're living with chronic diseases, what else? Mutual aid. Are their call volumes going down? No. We have 4 automatic aid agreements. That's gonna drive calls up. So, anybody, well, the schools are gonna be empty. Yeah. So is Saugatuck's gonna be a ghost town? I don't understand those comments. I really don't, because people don't I don't understand it. Here's another surprise. I didn't know this. Douglas, on their plan review, they had carbon 6. Had no idea. Nobody didn't know about this. They have drawings that show a fire station.
I saw it. I saw it.
Well, nobody,
In Douglas?
yes. And we thought
I
we
saw
would,
it before they saw it.
we thought
I
we
told
would,
them.
we would share that. You know, that's why I was hoping Kathy was here.
Yeah.
We'll share that, but it's it's public information, so they can't, you know. But they had carbon 6, you know, lay out something. I mean, that's very promising. There are a lot of details, you know. Are we gonna lease, you know, we don't wanna lease it, we don't know. It's premature to even speculate on it. But that's forward thinking, because we all know that's gonna be closer to the lake shore.
Mhm.
And it's south of the bridge. And that might be a solution.
Mhm.
But you're gonna cost.
And that's gonna cost.
That's, yeah, well, $3.5 million to remodel a building, I mean.
Yeah, it's gonna cost.
There's no more buying a house for $110,000 anymore. So, $2 million for a fire station, that's a cheap expansion,
Yeah, I think so.
so.
Okay, so, moving on.
I have one quick question. How much was the drone again? Could you remind me of that? How
The
what we paid?
drone with batteries and was around $34,000.
Okay, somebody asked me and I said.
34,000.
Okay, around 30, yeah. Okay.
That was
yep.
shared, right?
Share.
Right.
And then we bought a trailer, and then we bought a generator for that trailer, and then we bought screens. So we have about 40,000 into it.
Okay,
So it would be about $13,000 for each department.
okay. Yeah, and I said the 13, I said, I think it's way more. So somebody asked me
Yeah.
that in the public and I just wondered.
Like we just ordered,
Close.
we do,
I was close.
that's one of the reasons,
Yeah.
those of you, the wildlife,
Right,
tri-community thing, we can't fly when it's this cold.
uh-huh.
So they've been asking me that, and I said, we'll eat up batteries doing that large of an area, that many areas with the batteries, so we have to wait till it gets more temperate.
Okay. You weren't out by Clearbrook the other day, were you, last week? Okay, because there's a huge one out there, and I said, well, it might be fire department, but I doubt it. Okay.
At least I don't think it was, no, I don't. It was
Okay.
ours. Make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
About 34,000.
Mhm.
Okay, anybody else? Take a motion to adjourn,
I move to adjourn.
second. All those in favor say yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Opposed? We're out.
Thank you.